to our YouTube's viewers. We are recording this today at the Reading Community Church of Reading Center, New York. Last Wednesday was Ash Wednesday. That means today is February 26th, is the first Sunday of Lent. We have arranged for each of the 7 Sunday services of Lent to have a special guest tell us of their personal encounter with Jesus during their last week of his earthly life. Today, our speaker is the blind man.
Hey, what's with the pushing? I know where I'm supposed to be. Been here before, you know. Just yesterday. I don't know why you people called me back. Told you everything before and you didn't believe me then. Nothing's changed. Okay. If you want to hear it all again, I'll tell it. But you're not going to like it. You know all this. My name is Bartimaeus, and I've always been blind. Born that way. As I told you before, for the first time in my life, I can see. I don't really know what happened, except the man named Jesus put mud on my eyes, told me to wash in the Siloam pool. That's all I did. And now I can see. There's nothing else to tell. Not about him or how he did it. I was born blind. You know that. Most of you see me begging outside the temple. Been there nearly every day for the last 25 years. Some people, some of you teachers, said that I was blind because of some sin I committed. How dumb is that? How could I have done that before I was born? What could I have done before I was born? How can a baby sin in the womb? You don't make any sense. You don't think I know the things you've said about me? Maybe I couldn't see you, but I heard pretty much everything you said. Especially what you had to say about me. You called me a sinner. A sinner. That was one of the kinder labels for me. Talking about me like that to each other, isn't that bearing false witness? Who's the sinner here? Don't like that, do you? But I'll ask again, how could I have sinned in the womb? How is that possible? Because that doesn't make much sense. Other rabbis, other teachers of the law, push the blame onto my parents, supposedly on some sin of theirs. It wasn't enough that my parents had to deal with a handicapped child, but your accusations made them feel guilty, and you ostracized them from everything. I made things very difficult for them, dragged them down, created financial hardship for them. I was a burden, but you completely ruined their lives. All my life I've been told of what the law says, told that I cannot offer sacrifices to God, that I'm not even allowed to enter the temple grounds. I'm told that I'm less of a man than the rest of you. But my parents who did nothing wrong that is, but love and care for a defective child, you found reason to dump guilt on them. You turned them away. The people who needed your help most, you scorned and ridiculed and shunned. And then you dragged them in here to give testimony to things that you already knew. You saw me begging on the temple grounds day after day. Every one of you knew that I was blind. For all my life, you have spoken against my mother and my father, called them names, turned them out of the temple and the synagogues. And now you scare them half to death by bringing them in here to testify. And then you don't believe what they tell you. How can you not believe them? They were so frightened of you, they wouldn't even think of speaking anything but truth. Their testimony is true. I have been blind from the day I was born. But you don't believe me. Otherwise, why would you bring me in here a second time? Do you think I would have pretended to be blind? Spend every day begging for the few pennies you tightwads might throw at me? To be an outcast? To be labeled as a sinner? Again, that's one of your nicer names. No, don't hush me. You're going to hear this. You asked for it. Do you have any idea what this means to my life now? I am overjoyed to have been given this gift of sight. It's not going to make my life easy. I am 37 years old and I have no way to earn a living. I've never been taught how to do anything. Cannot read. Hardly even understand what reading is. One of the few people who ever showed kindness to me was Rabbi Eliezer. When as a child he would read to me from the scrolls of the synagogue. Shocking, isn't it? You're probably surprised that he would even let me into the synagogue. Good thing for him, he passed a few years ago. You'd probably take him out and stone him for showing kindness to a little blind boy. But Rabbi Eliezer would say, the Torah says, and I would interrupt him and ask, how does the Torah speak? And he would reply, that means it is written in the Torah. He tried to explain writing to me, but I could not understand what reading and writing meant. These words are still beyond me. The point is that there is much that would have been taught to a child, to a normal young person growing up, but not to me. The only thing I know how to do is beg for alms. And now that's even been taken from me. Do you think I would have pretended to be blind for years and suddenly turned my back on my only means of survival? I don't know what's going to happen to my life. I have concerns about that, but I would not change this for anything. I was blind, but now I see. One of my few friends is a man named Josias. Josias comes by every few days to chat with those of us who are begging outside the temple. We all sit in the same places every day, and he would frequently bring us bread and fish. Not enough for a meal, but just a bite of food. But it showed that he cared about us. He would talk to us about what the prophets said concerning the Messiah. That when Messiah came, I would be able to see. And my friend Cephas would walk again. That the Messiah would throw the Romans out and the land would belong to us once again. Said the Messiah, when Messiah came, the land would flow with milk and honey. That there would be plenty to eat for everyone. That a 100-year-old man would be considered young. Josias came by a few days ago. I was enjoying the warmth of the sun on my face, and he said, someday, Bartimaeus, you will be able to appreciate what a beautiful day it is. The sky is a wonderful, bright shade of blue. Do you know what? I've heard people speak of the sky all my life, but I didn't know what sky was until yesterday. And blue? What does it mean for something to be blue? Blue had no meaning for me, or red, or green. Colors did not make any sense. You try explaining colors to a blind man. But I was blind, and now I see. I can see blue. You asked to hear my story, so you're going to get it. You call yourselves teachers of the law. You sit in the temple grounds or in the synagogues and discuss the Torah, the Talmud. You discuss philosophy and what you think the finer points of the law. Most of what you say is nonsense to us. You make up so many rules that no one can keep them, And then you accuse us of being sinners. And yet you yourselves cannot keep all the law. You think you're the smartest people around, that you're the great intellects of our culture. You don't know anything. You're actually pretty stupid. Yes, I said stupid. You see a blind man sitting outside the temple begging for alms, holding out his dish, asking for your mercy. And you think because he cannot see, he's also deaf and dumb. You don't understand that because I was blind, my other senses are that much more important for me, especially my hearing. I hear much of what other people do not. Actually, it's not that you think I can't hear. It's that you don't even realize I am there. I'm not a person to you. You don't recognize my existence. We beggars at the temple are nothing to you. So, you speak your minds, talk freely, and are not mindful of us. But I hear everything you say. Everything. You think I don't know who you are? I know every one of you by the sound of your voices. I can recognize most of you by the smell of your garments. Rabbi Beezer, I know you. You don't think I'm smart enough to know the sound of a stone dropped in my dish instead of the denarius you claim it to be? And you don't think I know that you do that just to impress Rabbi Joseph ben Micah? Yeah, I know who you are too. I heard you cough a while ago. I know who you are. But Rabbi Beezer, there's no reason to impress Ben Micah. He cheats me too. But then, why shouldn't he cheat me out of a few coins? He cheats on his wife. I know that because I've heard Shema, one of your big important Pharisees. I've heard Shema gossiping about Ben Micah. But not just about him. Shema gossips about everybody. You frightened and intimidated my parents, but you don't scare me one bit. I knew too much about all of you to scare me. If anything, I should scare you. You asked me before where to find Jesus. How should I know? Josias and some other people took me to where Jesus was, and then he sent me to Siloam. When I was able to see, he wasn't there. I don't even know what he looks like. If he walked in here right now, I wouldn't know him. How would I know where to find him? And you asked what I thought of him. I told you before he was a prophet. I said that so you might leave me alone. That didn't work. You're never going to leave me alone, are you? So now that I will say he is more than a prophet, he has come from God. You claim he was a sinner because he healed me on the Sabbath. I have a question for you. What would you say to a pregnant woman who is ready to deliver her baby on the Sabbath? Would you tell her to wait until the sun went down and the Sabbath is over? That she's not to labor on the Sabbath? Of course not. Life is a gift from God, and wherever gift God gives life, we should welcome it, regardless of what day it is, Sabbath or not. When Jesus healed me of my blindness, he was giving me new life. It was like I was born again. He was doing something good and helpful. He gave me life. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. You ask me what I think, but you really don't care what I think. If I were to say that Jesus is the Messiah, you wouldn't listen. Your minds are already made up. You've told me he's a sinner. You're just looking for some reason to accuse him and me along with him. Is he the Messiah? I don't know. I'm not a learned man. You know I've never had the opportunity to study the Torah and the prophets. I don't know much about these things. But isn't giving sight to the blind one of the things the Messiah is supposed to do? And isn't the Messiah supposed to open the ears of the deaf, make the lame to leap, the mute to shout? From what I've been told, Jesus has done all these things and much more. You tell me. Is he the Messiah? And if he is not, then how does he do these wonderful things? If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. Well, that's about all they could take of me. Called me a sinner from birth and threw me out. Told me I was never to come back. That doesn't matter. I had no intention of ever going back anyway. And they thought I was blind. They are more blind than I was. I was just incapable of seeing. They refused to see. There's a difference, you know. They are the real blind people. A short time later, Jesus found me. He'd heard what they had done and sought me out. Basically told me that he indeed was the Messiah. And I believed him. What about you? Are you too a blind person? Are you blind to who Jesus is? I know he is the Messiah, come from God. If you cannot see, believe him anyway, and he will open your eyes.